I want to be when I grow up. I want to be a president.
My life matters.
We always talk about white people killing black people, but we don't talk enough about black on black crime. We kill each other.
My life matters.
Kansas City is different.
Stuff can happen at a moment.
My life matters.
Say if somebody made me mad, I do the first thing that comes to my mind.
My life matters.
We just go and just retaliate now or just get revenge on anything.
My life matters.
I mean, we've got about 170 homicides already in the city this year.
My life matters.
I saw the news and an 11-year-old girl was shot and killed. All I saw.
Mic check. 1 2 1 2. What is going on? What's going on, everybody? How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Gary B. Jr. here, your media consultant, and it is time to get started with Free Show Friday. I'm actually looking online now. I'm trying to see because I think YouTube is pretty far behind, but I want to make sure my volume is good. Can you guys hear me okay? Let me know. I see Brian on. We got Ron. Let me pull up my dashboard again here, my doc, to make sure I don't miss any comments from y'all. God is good all the time. Amen to that, my friend. Amen to that. And Ryan, no problem, man. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm excited about you getting the invite. Did you get it through email? Is that what you're talking about? Let me know. Let me know. If so, I'm excited that you got it and that you're joining us today. I'm really excited about that. Awesome. Glad you can hear me fine. Today's going to be a fun one. We're going to be talking about all kinds of cool tips and tricks from FreeShow, things that I've learned over the time that I've used it. And I want you all to think about what you've learned on your journey with FreeShow and let me know in the chat what you would add to what I'm talking about today. So we're going to do like we typically do. We're going to go through some beginner level stuff. We're going to go through some intermediate level stuff. We're going to do it all. And then we're going to do a quick review. Well, before we do that, we're going to do a quick review. It was a slow week for the channel, but a busy week for me. Been working on some other things. We got some updates to talk about with FreeShow. As I pull this up, I'm about to just pull up my channel. And me, oh my, oh me, oh my. What is going on with FreeShow today? Has anybody seen the beta that came out? Anybody seen some of the beta stuff? It's exciting stuff. That's all I can say. That's all I can say. I say exciting because it's so cool to see the program develop. That's what I love about it. The program is constantly getting developed, improved, and yeah, this is crazy. This is crazy. So let's talk about this real quick. Let me share about what happened this past week. Let me turn on my fan a little bit here. So this week, let me just get right to it. Let me see here. Let's get rid of that. All right. And let me fix something here though. This is supposed to be different. Let's go to style. Oh, I think I usually do this one. Let me turn that one on and let's turn this one off. That's the issue. Okay. All right. So you guys can see my screen. We are live currently. That's all that is there. This is my YouTube channel. So if you have not subscribed, feel free to check that out and subscribe. That way you'll get updates on the latest and greatest. What I've been trying to do is come out with something that's been impactful each week at the least. And then if there's something that someone asks a question about, I do my best to try to address that through the chat. Most of the time there's a comment and I'll do my best to answer it if I can through a video. And this was one of those that came out because I made a video. I made a few videos in the past week. One of them was why choose FreeShow for your church? Is it the best ministry software? And it was just a 20-minute introduction into FreeShow as to some reasons why I think it's valuable for most any church to use FreeShow. And then we got this one here that was a deep dive into build and mastering shows. And so using shows in FreeShow is something that is is built into the name. It's a part of the program. And so if you don't know how to use the shows, this particular video is going to be a very valuable asset to your repertoire there to add to it, to say, hey, this is going to help me understand something that I need to understand, and maybe something reiterate or reinforce some things that you already know, and kind of give you that boost of confidence. Say, okay, I'm gonna do this week, and I'm not gonna be concerned about doing it, because I know if you're like me, one of the last things you want to do is interrupt or interfere with any of the services or meetings or events or anything like that that you're leading, and you're using FreeShow to manage it, right? And then this one came from a question. This was how to have bold colors. I called it that. I didn't know what the best way to call it, but in one of these videos, I think it was in the deep dive that they saw this. It might have been, and I can see it right there in the deep dive. My section colors there were really bold, and the question was, mine don't look like that. How did you get yours to look like that? This is a really quick video, 3 minutes in, just or 3.5 or so minutes, showing you how to get basically what they call in FreeShow high contrast mode for your settings. For me, it was actually brought to me from somebody in the community during a FreeShow Friday. So I'm grateful for that. That's what these type of meetings are for. That's what the Facebook group is for. That's what the Reddit group is for. So by all means, connect in all those different ways. I actually learned it from somebody. Where's my brother from? I believe it was John. Oh, he brought it to our attention. He says, yeah, you can do it this way. You do this and you add that and it makes it look like this. I go, oh, wow. And so this is something that somebody asked me and I just took it for granted because I've had it set that way. I never changed it. I'm like, I wanted to always show high contrast mode because I love that look. And if you want to learn how to do that as well, this is the best video to show you how to do it real quick and easy. Another thing that I want to remind us of, I'm gonna go down just a little bit. Let's see here. This video here, a lot of people are using FreeShow for the first time and they're coming from programs like PowerPoint. They're coming from programs like Keynote or maybe even like Easy Worship or something like that, or OpenLP. And I know for me, I used to use OpenLP. And before, I didn't know anything about a stage view, right? That wasn't a part of the dynamic of the ministries that I was a part of. And so we just had the TVs in the front on each side, or a main projector in the front at the top. But when I got introduced to FreeShow and started learning more about it, I really was intrigued by this idea of stage view and how to customize it and things like that. And so what I learned was most of the computers I have, at least, or that I had, would not support what I needed to do with stage view, in the sense that they would actually support, most of them were laptops, so they would support the screen there and then an additional output that I could send out for the monitor that would be next to me. That would be ideal. But the monitor next to me had to show the actual show, because I would copy or split that signal to go out to the TVs. Now, if you're doing stage view, you can have that set up, but you still need another output to add to say, okay, from my computer, I need to run an additional HDMI, or some people might use SDI, but generally we're going to be using the HDI, and that needs to run to a separate screen. If you want to be able to do that efficiently and at a fairly low cost, you can check out this video called Expand Your Computer Displays for more outputs in FreeShow. It'll work for more outputs in any program, but I on this channel, we talk a lot about FreeShow, and it's less than $100 US. And so if that's something that you need, like I did at least, definitely check that out. It walks you through how to set it up, for one, but you also can have access to get it on Amazon, is where I actually have a link to it in there for. But I'm pretty sure you can get it off of the company's website as well. If you're international and you don't have access to Amazon, maybe you still can get access to it. All right. So that's something that came up just this week with questions that I've been dealing with from other individuals. And I want to make sure to remind you guys, there's a video dedicated solely for that. All right. Let's see here. Someone said, tell me they can handle SDI video in Linux and I'll be excited for sure. So FreeShow can definitely handle SDI video in Linux, but that device does not. All right. So what you would need is probably something from like Blackmagic. They've got some good Blackmagic device, or not Blackmagic, but SDI devices that will allow you to do some splitting. AJ, the CEO, he came out with a video, and the device he recommended, I think it was somewhere around $800 or $900 or something like that. And it was like what's it called? It was basically like an extension for you to add computer cards, right? So it was like a external computer card, like an external hard drive. It was like an external computer card device holder that you can connect through. I think it was through Thunderbolt. Might have been through USB-C, but I think it was a Thunderbolt connection to any computer, and you can put SDI card in the back of it to support as many of those as you needed to. So that would be a solution for the SDI. Good question, Ron. Very good question. As always, let me put this. I didn't put the title up there. So for us today, let me make sure my let me turn it back on. No, wrong one. Hold on. Let me turn this to be right. I got to show you guys my. All right, there we go. So we're talking about tips and tricks today in FreeShow. And so, before we do that, let me go back. Let me do this is review time. So I'm going through the week, and Free show. Man, oh man. Okay, so you said you do have the deck link. Yeah, like I said, but Free Show will support that. It supports any output from your computer. So as long as you got that deck link connected to your computer, you're good to go. All right. Duo with the 4 SDI outputs. Yep, you should be fine. As long as your computer can read it, Free Show can read it in terms of those outputs. So yeah, this is completely doable. All right. So Free Show, Christopher's been busy, you guys. Give him a shout out when you see him, when you see the updates. You could send him go to Reddit or something, go to GitHub and just give him a high five or something, because this man has been working. There have been 2 betas that have come out. So right now, the stable version or the full version is 1.4.9. All right. And he upgraded the user interface. He added some output state indicators, which is really cool as well. And then he added a few other tweaks, right? So he edited to edit default template overlays again. Let's see, edit default templates and overlays again. So you can actually edit the defaults, right? With the ones with the little shield on them for the templates or overlays, you can actually do that now. Let's see, project sections with color divided into actual sections. That one was a big one. I really love that one. I talked about that a while back, is that when you do those bold colors or those section dividers, it'll make a whole section that's separate, okay? And so lots of other small improvements he says here, but then 1.5.0 beta 1 came out, and he added smarter conditions, which we're going to get a sneak peek of that today. Updated pop-up user interface, song number sort drawer, profiles and styles now sync. Okay. And so that's something that'll sync up if you needed to with another computer, if you have turned on the Google Drive sync option, which is pretty cool. And then let's see, immediate thumbnails will be deleted when the original file no longer exists. This is really cool. And then the planning center updates, and then some other stuff that I don't have a clue about in terms of electrons. I think that's some type of language, but I could be wrong. And then updated languages, right? Like actual speaking languages, which is cool. This is more like a computer code thing, I think, but I don't know. Brian says, idea, how about you giving a teaser for next week's show if you work that far ahead, meaning a topic? Yeah, I would have to, I have to think about that one, because a lot of what I like to do with the shows is I'll try to address what came up that previous week. But I generally have an idea of what the topic is going to be still. Like this one, for example, is tips and tricks. And I'm going to bring in some of the tips and tricks from what I've advised people throughout this week, for example, right? But I knew that, for some time, which makes sense. So yeah, I'll have to do that. I like that idea. Maybe we'll make it a short or something like that. I'll make a note. Look, I'm old school sometimes, you guys. I'll actually just write. I got a notepad here with all kinds of notes on it and stuff like that. So I'll usually make my notes. So I'm gonna put in here Free Show Friday teaser. What I like to do is I'll put the teaser, well, not the teaser, but I'll send an email out to those who have signed up to the mailing list and actually subscribed, I should say. What I'll do is I'll send an email to them, letting them know some of the points of what we're going to cover. And that'll come out usually as early as Wednesday. And sometimes, like for today, for example, I sent it out this morning. And I just kind of play around with that and kind of get a feel for what's the best option to get the most people to open it is the goal, right? I want to make sure people are aware of it and can see it and get access to it. And actually, sending it the day of has turned out to be one of the I think it's probably easier for people to remember to click it or to use it and access it, because if I send it so far ahead, they might remember, oh yeah, Free Show Friday's coming, but they'll forget by the time Friday gets there, right? And so I think sending the day of is going to probably be one thing. And I hate to send out a bunch of emails a week, but we'll see. We'll figure that out. All right. Now, 1.5. Or beta 2 is better performance, updated editor user interface. Interesting. And then PowerPoint to slides now keeps the image and some formatting, and PowerPoint to PDF conversion is with LibreOffice. And those who have never used LibreOffice, I think, so there's another program called, was it OpenOffice or something like that? I think it's called OpenOffice. LibreOffice is another one that's a free, basically like a free Windows suite, right? To where it allows you to do things like word processing, slide creation, worksheets or spreadsheet, stuff like that. All right. And then action to toggle specific output lock. That's pretty cool too. So there's an action that's been created that will toggle to lock your output. Okay. So you can actually set an action up that says lock this in on this output when we get to this slide, and then to unlock it. Okay. Action to toggle playing media. I like that. Toggle playing the media, and then first day of week calendar option. Outputs no longer need to restart when hidden, and some updated languages and a few performance fixes here. Excellent. All right. So a lot of cool stuff. Let's go into that real quick in terms of, let's just do a quick review with this updated user interface. I haven't got to see a lot of the updated user interface stuff. I'm not going to really get into the PowerPoint stuff because I just don't use PowerPoint enough, but the action to toggle specific output lock, let's see if we can figure out what that's about and what that means. And basically we would have to go to our functions, go to actions, and I'm just going to say new action. And we're going to call this one output lock. All right. And then we'll choose action. We got show, clear, media, output. I'm guessing it would be somewhere in the output. And then we've got all these others. Now, if you want to see your full list of stuff, this little icon up here says more options. Right now it's off and I turn it on. Now you'll see a whole list of stuff. So that's a part of the user interface update to where it looks like that now, which is pretty cool. And then here we go. Toggle output windows, toggle output windows. We got two toggle output. Oh, toggle output window and then windows, and then toggle the output lock. That's the one that we're talking about here. So that's pretty cool. It'll just lock that particular output. So if I select that, it gives you a drop down, and it lets you choose if it's going to be off or on. And you can say off, and it doesn't let you pick the window. Let me see, which one did I select? I think I selected windows. Oh, no, I selected toggle output lock. Let's see if I say toggle output window, what does that do? So it lets you pick which window. Okay. Countdown. So that's just that, but the lock piece is the one I was looking at. And so basically it just lets you, I'm gonna go back up here, turn that on. Toggle output lock, basically it just locks down everything, I guess. And it gives you the option for value off or on. Interesting. That's pretty fancy. I like it. I like it. All right. So that's cool. And then you got more options here. If you hit that, it'll let you see the custom by key press activation or custom activation with something else. All right. Let's see here. Ron says he got to run. That's okay, my man. But I'll come back and watch the rest of this later. I'm also going to look at a couple of the vids you highlighted at the beginning. Excellent. 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 No worries. No worries. All right. So let me check out something here. I got all kind of stuff open over here. All right. I see quite a few more of you on. Make sure to let me know that you're joining and where you're from. You can check in. I'm not going to call you out or put you on blast or anything like that, but I would love to hear where you're calling in from. Let me turn on my light too. That usually helps. All right. And so I'm gonna close this out. So that's that one. And then in here, he talked about something down here. So smarter conditions in 1.5.0. I'm in 1.5.2, I believe. I'm pretty sure I'm in 2. Let's double check. I can check by hitting this toggle focus mode and hit it one more time. Well, I'm in 1. Okay. I'm in 1. So in 1, so I got to check that out. I don't even have 2. So I'm looking at 2. So toggle specific output lock. That's what I was looking for. That's not there yet. Okay. But in beta 1, there's this smarter conditions thing. This is kind of crazy, I must admit. If I go here, all right, and let's say I go to a slide and I want to edit and add a condition to it. So I'm on this one. Let's go to one of my favorite verses in this thing. Let's go to verse 19. All right. All right. So here I can right click and I can select the option that says conditions. and it looks completely different now. This is crazy cool. SBU Media in the house from South Africa. What's going on, my friend? I'll take a quick swig, quick water break. But this looks completely renovated and updated in a crazy cool way. So it shows you your items. You can hit that drop down. You can pick between item number 1 or 2. In this case is all I've got. If you have multiple items, they would all be dropped down there. And it shows you a preview of it. So if I were to select option 2, you'll see a preview of that one. And I can go here. And then it says show item if. All right. So this is the condition. It just is a condition to show the item. That's our conditions preset. All right. And then it gives you a type to base the condition off of. Is it based on some text? Is it based on a timer, a variable, or a dynamic value? All right. So if we say text, it says the text is, it is not, it has, or it has not. And then you just type in the value. Okay. And then you can go on and add more and say, and a timer needs to be at such and such and such and such and such and such. So I can say this timer, the 10-minute countdown is running, or it is above something, or it is below something, or it is something, or it is not at a certain number. All right. So that's another option. You can also go over here to say or. So you can go over to, it kind of branches out to say or, right? Which is pretty cool. So I'm gonna close this, and then we're gonna do a different type. We'll do timer. And we can see that here. If a timer, you pick the timer, and we saw that option is running or is above or below. Okay. If we said variable, and we will pick a variable here, and these are variables. Variables are basically dynamic values that you create yourself that are not default to the system, right? So I can say this variable, my beginner topic, is, or it include, or has not, or whatever it is, right? And then we've got this option for dynamic values. It's the same idea. You would pick a dynamic value. These are kind of defaults that are built into the system, okay? If I scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll see there's more metadata here for CCLI or copyright or anything like that, all right? And so this comes in handy if you want to show the audio artist, okay? You say, okay, I want to show the audio, excuse me, it says show item, okay, if the dynamic value is of this particular deal is, or has not, or is not, whatever it is that you want to put in there in terms of content, all right? And so you could say, if it is not blank, okay? So show this item if the dynamic value audio artist is not blank, because I didn't put anything in the value, okay? If it's not blank, then do that, all right? But if I say if it's not this, like a J or whatever it is, then you'll notice that it shows up for us, okay? But if I keep it at blank, it shows that it's blank, because right now I don't have any audio artists showing up in anything that I'm doing, because I don't have a song running at all. I don't have a show with a song in it at all. So there's no metadata that's active that shows an artist from the audio section, okay? And you can also do an or with that one, okay? You can break it down into an or statement, which is really cool stuff, all right? So I can close that by hitting the little trash can, and I can close that out. And then to remove your condition, which I'm gonna do, I just hit the little box up there in the upper right, turns red, and you select it and it disappears, all right? Let's see here. We got SBU Media. We got Bobby Manning from El Dorado, Arkansas. Welcome, 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 my friend. Brian has a question, not a free show question though. It says, but it's related. Free Show Friday, Hive, do you use mono or dual mono in your house of worship sound system? Oh, so he's posting this out to everybody is what I'm guessing. He calls it the Free Show Friday Hive. Brian, you cracked me up with the thoughts. I love it. I love it. I love it. So the question is, do you all use mono, stereo, or dual mono in your house of worship sound system? And then Broken But Believing says RIP to Charlie. Absolutely. Absolutely. I would say for Brian's thought, Brian, be more specific in terms of, I'm guessing you're talking about the output for the live stream, or are you just talking about in-house sound? let me know. Because for in-house sound, I've always used stereo. And then for the output, from for the live stream, it's usually been mono. But that's just me. And so I'm curious what everybody else thinks as well. Interesting thoughts. Interesting thoughts. All right. Let's see here. Fixed slide, MIDI activate, infinite loop. That's one thing. Let's go back down here to 1, which is what I have. Profile and styles. That's fine. Auto scroll to activate. Show in drawer. To activate show in a drawer. I'm not sure about this one, the auto scroll to activate a show in the drawer. Okay, so Brian says both. All right. And let's see here. Updated pop-up, user interface, song number, profiles. Okay, cool. So we got all that, as much as I'm going to cover today at least. Let's talk about some tips and tricks. What are some things that you all love about FreeShow that you consider to be a cool tip that you've picked up and you just run with it? Maybe you found it, you discovered it, or it's something that you saw from something that somebody showed you, told you, or you found it on my channel or somebody else's channel. What are some of those tips that stand out to you? All right. And so what I'm going to do first is, for me, I'm gonna highlight the beginner level stuff is going to be about starting your show. And Tayel TK says, I think most churches is a mix of both. Is a mixer of both. Yeah, I would agree if they are doing that. Now, in terms of the instruments and things, I'm curious. I think some instruments may work better with the mono sound. I don't know, right? I'm looking at my soundboard here, and all of my inputs are always going to typically be a mono input, but the output is always going to be stereo, because when you input, it's always going to be that one line. But maybe, yeah, I think it's just one line. And as long, it just depends on what your output is. I'm just I got my soundboard over here, so I don't have that plugged up to anything to show you guys what I'm talking about. But yeah, so that's definitely a possibility that it's going to be some kind of mix of both. That would be my thought as well. But going back to creating or starting your show, all right, let's talk about some tips. Let's go back to the first one that I made a note of this week, to start your high contrast mode. So the first thing I would do is I would go in here to your settings, go to other, not other, I'm sorry. I believe it's in, look, now I got to think about it. Profiles, no, styles. Is it in general? Oh, here we go. So managing, here we go, down here. I'm like managing groups, because this is where it used to be. It used to be in the same section, I think, with the managing groups. But it's called high contrast groups under the general section. All right. And if you turn this off, I'm going to turn it off for now and let you guys see what it looks like. And I'm going to go to something that's got a bunch of stuff on it. Training service. Okay. So here's an example of a training service here. You'll see I got some different sections in it. I got a worship, a new section, the scriptures, closing, offering, and song. But if we go to turn this on, it transforms it to me. It makes it look totally different. Breaks it down in some pretty high contrast colors that you can dictate, right? So I can change this color to be different by right clicking on it. And maybe I want it to be this color here, and it stands out in that way. All right. That's a big deal. All right. Really cool. We talked about this in 149 about them breaking out into being these separate sections, but that bold there doesn't just translate on the sections. If I select a song, you'll see it down below each slide for your show. All right. And it just highlights what group it's in. All right. Like I said, it's the high contrast groups, but it also affects your sections, which is pretty cool, which is, I guess, is a type of grouping as well. That's probably why. All right. Let me check my notes here. Another one is to, now this is funny. I was dealing with a computer this week that was a not Windows, that would be cool, but it was a Apple Intel laptop. All right. This Apple Intel laptop, it had a pretty good processor. It had an i9 processor. So it was one of the later Intel laptops. And I installed FreeShow on it, and that thing sounded like it was about to take off with a jet engine. It got so loud and it was running nonstop. And I wasn't used to that with the M1 chips. They don't usually respond that way. And I remembered I needed to make an adjustment to FreeShow because otherwise it was going to cause some consistent challenges. And what I needed to do was this option for disable hardware acceleration was active, right? It was like that. And I don't want to restart the program. But what I had to do is I had to turn it off, all right, to make it deactivated. All right. So if you have hardware, if you have this option on, it could put a load on your CPU in a way that you don't want. That's basically what was going on. When I disabled this, the actual fan slowed down and stopped spinning, and it stopped running loudly. It was able to function properly and run well, play the videos well, and all that kind of stuff. So as you're starting your show, make sure you disable this option that says disable hardware acceleration. All right. And I don't know why it's that way, because like I said, you guys that have more experience with computers, maybe Windows, Linux, and all that kind of stuff, you might be able to help me understand why that's the default. But for me, I've never seen it work out well, excuse me, for what I was doing, especially in that case. It stood out quite a bit. With my M1 computers, I don't remember it being a big problem, but maybe it was. It may have caused, I think it was active, and it caused some delay with me being able to switch slides and things like that. So it did bog down my computer quite a bit. All right, let's see here. We got some thoughts here. All right, let's go to some Q&A. We got some good questions coming up. We got Casey Herron on. Welcome, Casey. How do you use Google API for syncing save shows across multiple computers? I've set up the API to save to a Google Drive folder, but when I use the API key on another computer, my recently saved shows don't show up. Christopher just answered a question about this, and I believe he said you need to go ahead and do like a manual sync, I believe. Make sure that you're doing a manual sync, obviously, beforehand, but let me see because somebody just asked that question. Let me go to files. Disable uploading data. No, we don't want to do that. Because I've got mine off. I've turned my Google API key off because I didn't have another computer to use. I just tested it out to make the video for it some time ago. But let's go here. Let's see if this was something that somebody had an issue with in here. I can't remember if they did or not. So let's see. I'm gonna go to close real quick. I'm just in GitHub. Blinking symbols, how to play stricter keyboard single. And I just want to make sure I tell you right, because I felt like he did address that. Let me do a search in here and just do a search for sync. Okay, check before release. Zone automatically add functions. Yeah, that's not pulling up. Okay, only use stage. No. Maybe I don't think it's an open issue. Let me see here. See what syncing doesn't sync the correct version. That's not that. Separate sync function specifically for media folder. That's just an enhancement. I cannot find it, Casey, but there was a recent answer to that question, and I don't remember what it was. And I believe he said you need to go ahead and sync it up, back it up, or something like that. Man, I wish I could remember off the top of my head. Syncing doesn't sync with correct version of a song. No. If it comes to me, Casey, I will definitely shout it out. But it was a recent question that was answered. I don't think it was on Reddit. Let me see. FreeShow words list when it comes to PowerPoints, override files. Maybe it was here, Cloud Sync. Okay. Oh, they just put that in there just as that. Transposing song from the API. Oh man, you got me thinking now. I have to think about that one, Casey. If it comes to me, I'll definitely let you know. But I believe that the fix had to do with what did Christopher say? He said something along the lines of you had to do like some kind of, you might have to sync it up manually at first, and then after that, it should be good. But I have to think back to what it was exactly. Okay. Let's see here. How do you get the scriptures to appear in the service section like yours is showing? I tried to convert to show, but it splits the verse in a manner I don't like. That's a good question that I've run into as well. All right. And so when you go into your scriptures, I'm just going to create a new scripture, and we're running scriptures here, but I'm gonna go to, let's go to Judges. Let's go to 7. All right. And so we'll do this verse all the way down to this verse. All right. And then I'm going to right click and I'm going to say convert to show, which is familiar. And then we get this option, the max number of verses. Always keep that at 1. That's number 1. Keep it at 1. All right. And then this option, split reference, needs to be active. You need to turn that on. If it's off, what's going to happen is I selected Judges, I think 7 verses 1 through 7. Every slide is going to say Judges chapter 7 verses 1 through 7. I wanted to say Judges chapter 7 verse 1 on the slide that has verse 1. I wanted to say Judges chapter 7 verse 2 on the slide that has verse 2. This will split it out to where it'll do that. And then I don't even turn on the reference on first slide. That's not something that's important for me. If it is important to you, feel free to do it. But when I hit convert to show now, you'll see exactly what I was talking about. So down here, even I can see it, right? 7:3. And when I select it, it's 7:3. So you can see here's Judges 7 verse 3. All right. So that's important to me as well. And let me turn off my slide information. I'm gonna go to edit that and let's turn off slide. All right. So that is the key right there, is turning on that split reference piece. All right. Let's see here. How do you get the scriptures? Okay, let me know if that was what it was that you were looking for, broken but believing. Brian Richards, if your sanctuary is wide rather than long, your soundscape could be iffy. Guitar on left side may not be heard on the right speaker. Yeah, but I say typically, I believe instruments usually come in a mono from my experience, especially instruments like that, but they go out still in stereo, right? So when you output those, the mono should split out to where it's even on both sides, right? If it's coming in mono, it should come out on both sides of the stereo, basically. How about you have a weekly section called parking lot for issues that don't get answered that week? I like that one. I like that one too. And then that's a good suggestion. With those, I had to think about what I can do. So what we'll do is, we'll just pick them back up for the next week. And if you don't see that's basically, if you don't see a video that comes out to answer that question, we'll definitely pick it up and table it for the next week. Let's see. I think that's all of them. Like I said, Casey, we're going to put yours on the parking lot, my man. We're going to put the sync. I'm gonna call it the first sync issue, because it shouldn't be a problem after you do this thing that Christoph, I saw him say, and I can't remember if it was in Facebook, if it was on GitHub, or if it was on Reddit. All right. And I just have to think back to that, figure it out. All right. So going back to starting your show, if you are using FreeShow, we talked about the high contrast, we talked about the hardware accelerator. The other thing you want to look at is if you're using video, right? This is something I ran into. Let's see here. Intro to FreeShow. That's not a video, but this one it is. But I'm gonna go back to my FreeShow Friday show. I had it somewhere in here. Here we go. All right, so this is my FreeShow Friday countdown, the 10-minute countdown. When I did an update for whatever reason, and it happened last week, and I didn't even notice it because I stepped away when my countdown was going, but it just kept looping on this first slide. Okay. And I got this set up with a lot of cool, I call them cool. I like a lot of the different facets. It's by no means simple, but it's effective. All right. And so this one starts the music. This one, it sends a signal. But I don't usually activate that. I usually just manually start it. So I don't think I have my MIDI active right now. So that's a MIDI signal to OBS to do something. And then this is a run action to turn on the default to be the primary, so run action there. And then this one is a start active timer, which is my 10-minute timer there. And it'll be up in the upper corner. But what I found out was all my videos, all these are actually videos on this, except this last slide. And they all were set to loop. Okay. I don't know if you've ever seen that before. So let me right click on this and let's do, how do we turn on the loop? I don't know if it's just there by default. I thought it would be here, but go to start. Let me see here. Start action. Nope, it's not there. But if I were to, we'll do this. It's going to play some music. I'm going to stop the music. All right. If I were to select this option here right up under the background, which is what that video is considered to be, it'll give you the option to loop it. All right. And you'll see that there. This was active, okay, the whole time on all the videos. All right. And I didn't want that to be the case. So I had to go back and turn it off. It was a little icon up here that looked just like this icon over here that had the little loop icon. Oh, you guys can't even see that. Hold on. Let's just clear all. All right. So it had a loop icon. So over under the piece there, it had a loop option. Let me turn that off to where it won't do that either. I'm on the loop. I keep forgetting what style I'm on. So I'm gonna turn that style to, we got the live stream there. We'll do that one. All right. And so let me see if it'll show up this time that way. Put my title back up and starting your show. If I select this, nope, that one is doing it too. Hold on, let me change that. Oh, that is weird, you guys. So I've got a different output on, and I keep forgetting that it's on. So if I go to my edit here, it's this output here, and it's showing that it doesn't have a style selected for it. So when I select that style for it, that's there. And then if I go to edit that style, I don't want it to have anything like that going on. And so that's fine. But for some reason, when I try to play something, so if I select that, okay, there we go. It should be blank. All right. So I got this video here, and if I hit this option right up under the icon for the background, you'll get those
My life matters.
options
We
to
always
show.
talk about
And we'll
white
mute this.
people killing.
You'll get the loop option here. So I can actually loop this individual video if I wanted to from here, but that was actually active up here. There's a little option for it, which is kind of a default for any of your videos that you have if you wanted to have them in there, especially for background videos. I didn't want that, but they came back on when I did an update. So you want to be mindful of that before you start your show, to go back and check those out. Let's see here. Casey says, another issue I noticed with the last update was when you pull a motion background out of the media folder and drop it at the first slide or before, it is only showing at the first slide. It causes issue if you use black letters. Oh, hold on, let's see. Excuse me. So he said, is if you pull a motion background out of the media folder and drop it at the first slide or before, it is only showing at the first slide. Okay. let's look at that. And then you said you use black text, which that can definitely be a challenge. Let me go to, no, not that one. Let's go to this one. And so let's go here. And so motion. So this is, I dropped this background on the first slide. Let me go to something that is a motion background. Let's do this one here. Actually, that one has a setup on it. So let me do one of these that doesn't have anything set. Okay, this one is just a favorite, but it doesn't have anything special on it. So I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna drag it there. Interesting. I see what you're saying. So that's there. And then it's that. Oh, wait, let me take that out. This one doesn't need to be there. Let's remove that. Remove, delete from show. Just that one. Okay. So it did what I expected. Okay. It was just that one, that it went right in front of the actual background I had. So what you were running to, Casey, is when you drag in your motion background, in this case, I got this one. When you select it, and let's see here. I'm gonna clear. That is lower third title. No. There it is. Comment on your country. I want to clear that. All right. Let's add that back in. So what you were saying was that it would actually not show up on these. My question is, did you have anything in between there, like another image background or anything like that, like I just did, to where I had that other image background and I put the video in the front of that, but it kept that image background that was there. Let's see here. And then Brian says, this is a bit convoluted, but if you have a FreeShow installed on two computers side by side, how do you switch quickly to use the second computer as a backup in case of computer number one's serious failure? It just depends on what you have them routed to, like how are they getting connected to your outputs. So for something like that, I would probably use some type of switcher. I would just use like a ATEM or something like that and put computer one into output or into input one on that one, and then have the ATEM send out that signal to your other TVs or something along those lines. You need to have it to where you can control the actual staging of it. It's almost like staging for audio. You need to be able to control it. So if you want to have a split to where you have two computers connected, they could potentially be switched over if you need to. Then you need to have a switcher that's connecting those two computers. And then you can switch between them with a one or a two. Like I said, if it's an ATEM, you would pick a one or a two. And then the first one is going to always be coming out of one. And then that, whatever that is, you send the ATEM out into the splitters to go to the TVs that you need to have. The downside is if you got multiple outputs from that computer, you're going to have a challenge where you're going to have to do that twice. Two ATEMs maybe, I guess. Nah, you still have a challenge with it because you basically need a switcher for each output, right? Like a separate switcher for your stage displays and a separate switcher for your primary outputs. And both computers will need to be routed to both individually, right? So you would need to have primary output from the computer going to one ATEM from both computers. So primary computer one going into ATEM one, primary computer two going into ATEM two. Then you need to have stage from computer one going to another ATEM in number one, and then stage from the second computer going into the second ATEM into input two. And then that from those ATEMs, the stage ATEM, that would go to the stage output directly, the output from there. And you would always just have it on one as long as computer one is working. And then for the primary outputs, same idea, is that you would have the output from that going into a splitter. If you got two TVs, those would go into a separate splitter that would split out to the two TVs from the ATEM. And then it would actually be able to support it. And if you have one problem with one computer, you can just switch both of those to two and they'll be pretty seamless. If you're running them together, like you would have to sync them up to where they are run at the same time because they're two separate things. But yeah, it's possible. Interesting question. Very interesting question, Brian, which I don't expect anything less. I love it. I love the idea of having that as a backup. It may cost a little bit up front, but it's definitely something you can do. Let's see, with the white background is all other side backgrounds would be black. Let's see here. So going back to what Casey said, he says, because if you use black letters with a white background, as all other slide backgrounds would be black. Yeah. So Casey, let me see what you said to my question. You can't see ahead if the letters are black, no other image. Yeah, so if you have black text, let me see if we can do that. I think that's what I'm hearing you say is that can't see ahead if the letters are black, no other image. That's weird that yours is doing that, for one. So I'm gonna select all, and I'm gonna change this to be black text. That's interesting. Why some of those are just not black. I mean, not, look at that. I've never seen that before, but I want all this to be black. Maybe it is, and it's just, no, it's not all black. That's crazy. I've never seen that before. Let me see what's causing that. Okay. It's there now. This one, I would make it all black. All right. Some of these letters, for some reason, or words didn't show up. I did a select all on my slides, and then I just went over to my text box and made it all black. And that usually will suffice to make all the slides be the same color. But for some reason, I have to go through these individually and make them black. That's something that's new to me. I've never seen that. I am on a beta, so it could be something that fell through the cracks while they were doing some other testing or something. But I'm curious if you guys ever seen anything like that where it was all kind of some letters, some words just didn't, or if you've ever done that. All right, so we're trying to create Casey's question here. He says you can't see ahead if the letters are black, no other image. HTML switcher, maybe, yep, that's odd. Yeah, I agree. It's super odd. All right, so let's do another backdrop. I'm gonna change that and I'm gonna put this one there instead. And it switched over, Casey. Mine's is switching over. So make sure you're dragging it on top of an actual existing slide. That could be the challenge that I can think of. Let's see if I think this is motion here. If I put it in between, it should do it there as well. So even if you don't put it on top of an actual slide, you drag it in front, it should do it. But your template is what's going to dictate the color of your text. So if I go back to my templates here, and let's say these are lyrics. So let's go to songs. If I select this, it changes the color of all my text. All right. So that's a quick way to change the color. Just make a template that has the color that you need. So if you need it to be black text, you can make it be a black template pretty quick and easy by just simply clicking on any template that you've got or that you created that's down here. Okay. You said you did that, but the issue is still the same in terms of that you pull a motion background out of the media folder and drop it at the first slide or before it. It is only showing at the first slide. What version are you running, Casey? I'm curious because I'm running 1.5 beta 1. I'm curious what version you have. You said, I think you said it earlier. I might have overlooked that. Let me see. Maybe not. Let me know what version you're running for that one, Casey. That's interesting. All right. And then Brian says, I built a homemade clicker that advances slides on both computers at the same time. Oh, okay. Big time. I like that, Brian. Then I can switch to second computer and cost me about $20 in parts. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. Cause I was like, you got to be in sync with all these slides. That's what's going to be serious. So you got that in order. You can be in sync. So yeah, that would be my thought is that you basically need some type of another switch, basically a splitter switch, right? Now, so the closest thing I could say is like a ATEM switcher, because they allow you to do that, to where you can get all these different inputs in. So they're kind of taking the signal, and then they allow you to send out any signal you want to, right? And so that would be it. So Kate says he'll let me know later on. He's at work. Perfect. No worries. No worries. Just comment on this video. Just say, hey, I'm running such and such, and I'll know exactly what you're talking about. All right. Comment on this live when you get back to check it out. Yeah, that is cool, Brian, to make a homemade clicker that switches both at the same time. Now, what kind of computers are you using with this homemade clicker? Are they Windows? Are they Apple? Are you using Linux? Somebody said they use, was that you, Casey, that's using Linux? No, it was the gentleman I think it was Ron. Did he ask about that? Yeah, he asked about Linux. I'm looking up at Ron. Okay, he had to step away, so I get that. All right. So other points for starting your show. All right. Let me see. I'm checking my notes here for my tips. All right, check the video loops. We talked about the loops. And then the other thing is to make sure your audio for your video is muted. So for example, if it's muted, you'll see this little icon up there, obviously, that shows you that it's muted. If it is there and you don't want it to be muted, you want to play the audio, then you need to make sure to uncheck and basically turn that off. All right. For backgrounds, you obviously want it to be muted. But for videos, which I don't think I have any on here. So if I go to my media and let's do Bible Project videos, and let's just drag one of those into the show. I'll put them into my new section here. All right. And so if I go to play the video, I can show the controls. You can see here, I can actually have the video muted
about Jesus
or unmuted. All right, this is muted, and then the other way was unmuted, right? So no slash and then a slash through it there, right? When I hit the play button,
there are 4 books in the Bible that are ancient.
It gives you an option under here again, next to loop, you can mute. All right. So if you need to, you can hit right up under there. If you hit the red, it'll actually make it go away. But if you hit the drop down, a little black space or gray space, depending on what your theme is, it'll give you the options for that, right? Just like how you guys saw me earlier, I went to my overlays. It gives you a list of each overlay that you can actually clear individually. All right. So if I wanted to get rid of the lower third that says starting your show, I can click that there and you'll see it go away. All right. And so I can bring it back and it's there. So that's what that's about. All right. In terms of those things are important to me when it comes to starting your show. Now let's move on to some intermediate topics. All right. Actually, no. Real quick. We'll put this, I'll keep this in the intermediate discussion. So managing your outputs, this is a big deal. Let's see here. So Brian was using Windows 10 and he used 2 USB shift bars. That's crazy. I'm gonna say space bars connected by cables. That's crazy. Okay. And in case he's got tons of computers with Linux, man, you guys are some gurus out there, some computer whizzes. The last computer I used, it was not a Mac. You guys, I might make you guys ashamed of me, but it was way back in 2006, maybe, because I wasn't like you guys. I wasn't smart enough to keep a Windows computer the way I wanted it. They would just degrade over time, and I just got tired of it, having to manage all that. So it just wasn't the way that I thought. But the Apple computers, I'm sorry, what I liked about it was I didn't have to do a lot of maintenance to them. That was a big deal to me, at least at that time. Now I just kind of take it for granted because it's been almost 20 years now. So I'm used to using them for sure the way that they are, which I like, and they're pretty reliable for what I need to do. But that's cool, Brian. 2 space bars connected by some cables. That's crazy, and it's cool at the same time. All right. I love it. I love it. Let's talk about managing your outputs. When it comes to tips and tricks that I would give you guys about this, one of the things has to do with, like we talked about earlier, is that you're going to probably, when you get into FreeShow, one of the cool things is you got access to all these different types of outputs. And so the biggest thing to me that I would say is important about you understanding your outputs is to always find or create a style for each of your outputs. Okay. This allows you to have some level of consistency for your service that you can manage. All right. Now, the reason why I say that is because when you create a style is right below the outputs option in the settings. And what it does, it allows you to dictate. You can pick a background color if you want to. I always keep mine defaulted to black, which is just my personal preference. You might want to make it be some ministry color. The background media, you can put in a ministry logo if you wanted to. Just make sure it's formatted to fit into a reasonable size. You don't want to just drop a blank image in there because it'll just be huge. But if it's small and it's in a 1920 by 1080 frame, like on Canva or Photoshop or wherever you get it from, and you put it into that frame, you can size it how you want. All right. So every time you clear out everything, that logo will be there, which is pretty cool. But you also dictate and determine how all the transistors are going to work all the time, how your media is going to fit in there all the time, and your aspect ratio, which is, for me, I would say by default, I would just make it be use the output resolution aspect ratio, right? So I would just pick that, okay? And this one was at 16:9, which is fine, but I would make it be that and you don't have to think about it. And then the active layers. This is important. This is what I was running into earlier, to where my active layers, I had the slides on, I had the background on, and I didn't want either of those. I just wanted to overlay so you can see my title up there and then my title down below there, all right? The other part of this that's kind of cool to me is if you turn on slides, right? So if you got your slides active, okay, it gives you the option to do a lot more things. Like you can dictate how many lines are going to show up on each slide. Okay. You can make it be, if you hit this option here, it gives you a breakdown 1, 2, 3, 4, or all the lines. Okay. You get to choose. And then here you can pick a custom value. If you need it to be 8, you can make it 8 or 5. You can do that by hitting that up there. All right. And mine is just set to all of them. All right. This part here, though, this is the most crucial part to me about styles, is it allows you to override your template, or with a template, for that output. So that output is going to always have the text at the same size because you can override it with a template that makes sense for what you need that output to do. So if it's the primary output, you want it to always be big text, you would put that in here and it'll automatically work that way. Now, if you want to override your override, what I would probably do is say, make it be an image. Put your text in there as like a graphic or something that you made off of Canva. Like I use Canva because you can get access to that for free, but you might have your own favorite flyer maker or editor, photo editor or something like that. If you have text that you do not want to be overwritten, maybe put it into an image and bring that image in, and that way it'll just stay there like a picture. And it gives you the same options with your scriptures, where you can do that with your scriptures as well. And so that's why I would say, when it comes to my tips for managing your outputs, always use a style. Okay, so we just went through the style options, but that is the idea. Always use a style because it gives you the flexibility to have the consistency to where you're not going from one slide to the next, or one show to the next, and all the texts are in different fonts and different sizes and all that stuff. Personally, I think that there's a more professional way to do it, right? To be more consistent is more professional, right? And for your end user, for those in the audience, they know that you're creative. So I'm not trying to take away from your creativity, but it can be jarring when the text for the last song was big and easy to read, and then the text for the next song is puny and it's 20 lines in there on the one slide. We don't want that. We want them all to have 4 lines each or 3 lines each or whatever you said it, 2 lines, whatever it is, and they all are the same size. And that's consistency that builds trust, to where they'll start to trust you as a media team leader, media team volunteer, for a consistent experience. And the more that they can ensure or trust that there's a consistent experience, the more they can put their heart and their mind on God. They're not worried about what's the next slide going to look like, right? Am I going to be able to read it? Is it going to be too big, too bright, whatever it is, right? You don't want to be a distraction in the worship process or the learning and teaching process, right? So we don't want to be a distraction in that. That's where styles become your best friend, all right? Let's see here. He said, I only use Windows when it's sandboxed. I love it. I love it. All right, let's see here. NDI, big deal, really cool feature. However, when it comes to managing outputs, I would turn it off if you're not planning to use it right away. Like if it's not actively being used, turn it off. It's not necessary, especially for a computer that is not designed to be a high performing computer, which is a media person in a lot of churches I've been a part of, they just have regular computers. So I'm not downing that. But if you have made some investments in your computers and you know that they're going to be able to support a load and perform at a high level in a lot of challenging conditions, this may not cause any problems. But if you have not invested in a computer like that, this would definitely cause some problems. And this is what I learned with that. I got that Intel computer right here. And it's an Apple computer. Same size as the one I have. I think they're both 16 inch. Maybe this one might be 15 inch. I'm not sure what they did in that model year. Like I said, I think it's from 2018 or 2019. But NDI is great if you want to use it real time. But if you're not using it, make sure to turn it off. All right. Now, outputs. When you create an output, it gives you some options. I hit this little plus sign. It says, do you want to be a normal output or a stage output? The stage outputs are awesome. So I'm gonna close this and go to one of mine that I've got. I've already got one called stage training. And if I activate that, you'll see I have a lot of different shows and layouts and stuff like that I've just played around with, just testing things out. So forgive me, this is not the ideal layout, but it is an idea of something I was working on. This is something that you might see similar to what you would find like in a Pro Presenter or something like that, but you can customize anything to look any way you want to in FreeShow as well. So if you go to your stage, you'll see all kinds of layouts I've got here. Excuse me. This one is what I call the speaker stage. This one is just a stage one that's generic, and you can customize these. And notice these have conditions to them. And so when I look here, they're not showing that big purple countdown timer on each side because they're not actively running. All right. I made an action to make those run at a certain time and it was perfect. Right. And so that would be something that you can consider. This is a pretty busy stage display, but it's cool too. And it leads me to my next point when we talk about slide notes. All right. When you're managing your outputs, slide notes are good, but they're not worth anything if nobody can see them. And typically you want your speaker, your worship leader to see them. Usually the speaker, not the worship leader, but you want them to be able to see it on the stage view. All right. But many people don't know how to even add slide notes. In the chat, let me know if you've ever added slide notes. And let me put it this way. Answer yes or no if you know how to add stage notes. Real quick. Answer yes or no. And there's no shade. I'm just curious because I'm gonna go into it. If I just get at least one no, right? If somebody says no, I'm gonna make sure we go over how to do that. Let's see here. Where Gary has tips and tricks on screen, you could have the info for the operator specific to the worship service. Only operator would see it. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So you have info for the operator specific to the worship service. So Brian, when you're talking about the operator, don't forget, I haven't seen anybody say yes or no yet. Do you know how to put in slide notes? Not in the stage view, but just slide notes on a slide. How do you do it? Does anybody know how? Just yes or no. And I'm going to show you guys how if you say, if I see at least one no. All right. But what Brian is talking about is up at the top of my screen up there, up above where it says tips and tricks. He's saying you can put a special note there. And it's funny because that is actually a variable or it's two variables, one variable, one dynamic value. The 912 is a date that's a dynamic value that's there by default. And then the tips and tricks is actually, let me go here to Q&A. It's actually a variable that I created. So variables, if I go to my FreeShow Friday topics, okay, Casey's got to know. We're going to talk about that, Casey. I'm going to make sure you don't leave without, you're going to see it before you leave if you don't leave too soon. All right. But in here, you'll see my title says tips and tricks. I can make it say, and more, right? And when I hit enter, check out what happens. It automatically shows up. So this is a quick way for you to make those communications. We talked about this a while back too on a FreeShow Friday for making a stage view for operators to where you can share that through NDI, right? And you can allow them to get access, not NDI, I'm sorry, through the connections menu in FreeShow. and they can actually get communications from their phone or from another computer in front of them, and you can communicate to them just by typing a message in your variables section in FreeShow, which I'm a probably have to make a video about how to communicate using variables, how to communicate with different teams, because we talked a lot about it in FreeShow Friday, but I don't think there was an official video about it. So I'm sold on it. All right, I only got one answer. Come on, you guys. Brian, Tayel, if you're still here, do you guys know how to use the slide notes? So for my man, Mr. Casey, let's talk about this. So if I go to a slide, all right. So I'm gonna go to this slide here. You'll see it show up there. All right. We got the song playing. This is the song. That's great. But we want to make a slide note for that particular slide. All right. So maybe at this point we need to remember something for ourselves. Okay. So this is the only time it's going to be visible to us if it's just to us. But on the right side here at the bottom of your output menu, right? This is all your kind of output settings where you can clear, you can refresh, you can change slide numbers, you can see all your previews. Just below there, you're going to see groups, media, and then a little, I call it a caret, but it's an arrow icon. You can see an option here that says notes, and you can see this option to type. This is going to type a note for the whole show. So this is, all right. So notice down here, you'll see that note. It's down here for the whole show. Okay. It's just down there. But I want to make a note for this slide. It's a similar step, but we need to go into the edit option, right? At least as it is today. This is in, we'll say 149, the solid. I'm in the beta 150. But if I wanted to make a note on this particular slide, we're going to go to the same area by hitting that little arrow area. And then this one is going to have my special note. All right. And you'll see it down at the bottom there. Okay. And if I go to show, you'll see that special note right there on the slide. And this is a note for the whole show that we found from the show panel. And we can see the option for notes here. And you can add more notes there for the volunteer who's using it. They can see a note down there. Okay. Now this up here is a special note for that slide, which can be carried over into our stage view. So if I go to my stage view here, and actually let me edit this. So I'm gonna right click and I'm gonna hit edit on this output so you guys can see a different stage view actually. Right now I got it set for the sound team stage view. I'm gonna pick a different layout. We'll do this one. It's got some notes in there. I don't think this one does too. I think I like this one the most. So we'll do this one. All right. So this one shows my special note from that particular slide. All right. And this is an important message. Turn up the speaker mic. That's another variable. So ignore that. But this down here has slide notes. So if your speaker says, hey, I need to make sure my slide notes are visible, can you make sure to add those to my slides for me? You would go into the edit page, and on each individual slide, you would go over to the right and then select the notes here. More info for the speaker to see. All right. So this is the note there. And then I can go to this next slide. This one has some serious revelations. I said tis this. There we go. All right. So now if I go back to my show, you can see everywhere that there's a note. More info for the speaker. You'll see here that shows up there. If I go to the next slide, you'll see this one has some serious revelations. This is where that note would be for that particular speaker. All right. Let me see here. Let me know if this is helpful for you, Casey, if that makes sense. Basically, you're just going over to the right and you're going to hit for the main show. You'll put some notes there, but you're going to go to edit and you're going to hit the little arrow to the right over here. And you'll see an option for notes for each individual slide. And you just put them on any slide you want to. All right. So if you want to put notes on this one or that one, you'll see them. I've already got some there. You can put some on this one as well, but it's in the edit page. All right. So that's one way that we talk about when we say managing your outputs. That's important. Now, the other thing we talked about when it comes to managing your outputs is actually having some, right? So I talked to you guys earlier about this whole little device. Let me pull it out real quick. what is this called? The Orion split extender. It's got one USB that converts to a USB-C. Okay. I love this device because it allows you to send the output signal to 4 HDMIs, if you can see that there. All right. But this device is pretty cool, and it allows you to have, to me, as many outputs as you're going to need for FreeShow if your computer even only supports one extra screen. So you can still keep your one extra screen in the back for your, basically your media confidence monitor, right? I know for me, one of the things I like to do when it comes to having a media team, I would like it'd be ideal for me to have 2 to 3 monitors, right? So if it's, you could, I guess, function your ministry from a laptop. No shade on that, because some of you all do that. But ideally, you want it to be a like a desktop setup to where you can have one display showing your edit screen, like I see here, right? That you can see in FreeShow, everything that you're going to navigate and all that kind of stuff. And then a secondary display that's going to show what your output looks like exactly, right? Now, if you have a third display, it's even better, because then you can do some other stuff like have OBS on another screen if you wanted to, and manage that as well for your live stream, or have somebody on a whole separate computer, right? That's another option. But ideally, you're going to need at least 2 screens to manage a service, an event, or whatever it is. Sometimes 3, depending on your preferences. If you do that, you still haven't put out anything to FreeShow yet. So you need something like this, or you need a computer that's pretty robust. Like I know, like I sent out an email a while back to those on my mailing list about a Apple Mac Studio, I believe it was. It was insanely cheap. It was like less than $800 or something along those lines, and it supports up to 5 outputs just built-in body alone. Okay, with the body itself, which is really cool. My laptop supports, I think, 2 additional outputs. So I've got one here, and I can make another one if I wanted to, but I would need an adapter for it, which that's what you would need for the Mac Studio too. You would need some type of USB-C or Thunderbolt to HDMI adapter or something like that. So don't get it twisted. It did not have 5 HDMI ports on the back of that Mac Studio, but you can put a card like that in the back of a Windows computer, which is pretty cool. And I guess you could probably do it with a Linux computer too, because Linux can be run on a Windows Tower, right? And then you can even do that with an external connection or external drive port or container. I don't know what they're called. And you can hook that up to a laptop that is Apple, Windows, Linux. It doesn't matter. And you can do that same idea. But ultimately, for outputs, you're going to need physical outputs. All right. You're going to need some physical outputs. A lot of people have tried to do this, and they try to use their current setup, and they only have one output, and they just split it out 4 different ways. It's still only going to send out the same signal. That's something we have to understand. Everybody's at different levels, so I want to make sure that's clear when we talk about outputs in FreeShow. All right, let's see here. Brian says, please put a note where your face is. No offense. Put a note where my face is. Where would I put a note where my face is, Brian? What are you talking about, a note? Put a note where your face. Oh, what is that up there that says your name? Oh, it's showing the upper thirds. This particular deal. Put a note where your face is. Brian, I don't understand what you mean. Help me out. That's showing up there. And it might have been something I said earlier. I just don't remember when you made that note, what that was about. Let's see here. Casey's giving a thumbs up. Linux can pretty much do anything. I agree. Casey said laugh out loud. Casey, what's he talking about? Brian, what's up? Put a note where your face. What face? On the stage view? Put a note. Like in the box around me here, you want to see a note in that space? Let me know what you're talking about on that one, Brian. I'm just lost. All right. And then let's see here. Mac is the cousin of Linux and Windows as well. No comment. Where we see your face on the screen, can I put a note in there? I would, if I did, I would do it as an overlay, and then I would put Let me show you what that would look like, right? So if I did overlays and I said new overlay, I would call this note on face. That's what this is Brian's language, not mine's. All right. So we're going to put a note in. So we need a text box, right? And I'm going to put that. I'm not going to put it over my face. I'm going to put it in my space though. How about that? Not my face, but my space. And I'm just going to eyeball it. I think it's going to be somewhere around here. That should be safe. All right. And then I won't make it too tall. And then I want to make it be a background color in there. We'll pick a gradient and I'll pick that same gradient I've been using and we'll round off the corners to be similar to these. Not that much. All right, so we got that. But now I need to put something in there so I can right click and I can select dynamic values, right? And then here, so time, date, these are time. This is show stuff, text stuff, video stuff. And what we're looking for is metadata, nope, timer, variables. I'm looking for notes. I might have passed right by. Here we go. Nope, that's slide text. Where are my notes? Let's do a search for note. Nope. I don't even know if it'll let you do that in here. That's interesting. Maybe that's only an option in the stage view. Let me go back. Let's do, So I got the show going. That's fine. If I go back here to dynamic values, these are timers, text, the show. This is timer game. Interesting. Audio, audio, audio. Somebody help me out. Where's my notes at? I see timers. Oh, you need to be able to see the note section. I got you. Let's do it this way. I got an idea for that. Let's do the full share and then I will turn this on. Boom. Now I got a little head. How's that? Little face Gary in there. And what we'll do is, let me go back to that because that does not show up in here. I don't see the option for notes in here, which is interesting because I would expect to be able to see it. If I go to items, it's not even an option there. It's only visible here, right? So to get your notes into your slides, let's talk about that again real quickly, just briefly. All right. So you want to go over to the right. Okay. You'll see the option here. This is going to add notes to your show. You can see the option here for show notes and you'll see I can put my notes, but to add them to individual slides, you got to go up to edit and let's go to the show itself and let's hit edit here and we can go there and we're going to hit the arrow to the right again, a little arrow up here that says more options. You'll see an option here for notes and I got some notes in there for that particular slide. All right. And then you'll see those notes under each individual slide. That becomes important, especially if you're adding them to the stage view. So in the stage view, you got this option. If I delete this, I'm going to delete this out and I'll show you guys how I added that. So if I go to items, you will see slide text, which is not notes. That's just the stuff that's on the output, right? So this is that you're the alpha and omega, you're the beginning and the end. But if I go down here to text boxes, there's a little option that's a drop down and you will see an option that says layout slides, show name, layout, notes. And you'll see a default. It says notes for the whole show. Okay. We don't want that. And then you got this option that says slide notes. And that's it. It says here my special notes. So I can put that in and you will see that show up in your stage view. All right. And in the stage view, so this one is the the worship stage, and I'm not using that one currently. So if we go to, let me see. There we go. So this one's showing it at the bottom. Okay. So I like that. I like that. I just worked on that one last night. The little circle thing. It was something that I was thinking about because I was like, I want to be able to show everything bigger. I just don't like that this one covers up portions of the screen. So that's the reason why I would do that, the whole split screen thing, because I didn't want you guys to miss anything. And I typically output and upload into 4K. And so my thought was you'll be able to zoom in if you need to, like on a computer, I guess, if you wanted to. All right. But yeah, so I agree with you. I like the idea of being able to use a larger font too. So that's why this was the idea I was thinking about from even maybe last night or the night before. Actually, I was thinking about this and figured out a way to do it. And this is all through OBS. So I just made this little circle thing through OBS. That's a whole nother discussion if you guys want to learn how to do that. So just let me know though, if you do want to know. If there's who uses OBS, let me know. Does anybody use OBS? All right. And now for some advanced level stuff, just quickly, just briefly, I don't want to hold you guys up. It's 12:30 now, but some advanced level stuff to me when it comes to using FreeShow for an advanced level, to me, one of the main things is like if you go over here to your calendar, there's this option that says schedule action. That's a big deal. Okay. A lot of people don't use that, but I believe it will be really helpful for you if you use that. If you have like a regular opening countdown, I would always just schedule it. Okay. You can see here, I start my show at the same time, 10:55 every Friday, and it's just default set that way. I don't have to think about it. So when I open up FreeShow, as long as it's open, it'll just start playing that show. And then I just start live streaming through OBS. All right. And I'll put it on that primary output. I like tiny head Gary. I love that. That's hilarious. All right. I'll probably put like a little outline around the circle. I haven't done that yet, but like I said, the only thing I don't like is that it's blocking stuff. So I would have to go into let's see here. Move this down. I will move it down to here, something like that. Yeah, I like it better there for this particular view. But like I said, each view is going to be different. That's the hard side. Caden Live. I've never heard of that one, Casey. Caden Live. So you're saying use that instead of OBS? I have to check it out. All right. What else are you all using? If you do go live, let me know. All right. So scheduling your actions for shows. Okay. I use that for shows. It's really cool. Especially if you got multiple services that you do in the same day. So some of you all might be in a fellowship where you might meet in the morning 2 or 3 times, and then you might have an evening service, and all those are real services. This is your best friend. And you don't have to worry about trying to start the show at a certain time. It automatically is going to start for you. That's a big deal. All right. When it comes to media, this is a big one as well. When it comes to playing your media, we talked about putting the media in. So Casey had that issue where when he drags it onto the first show or first slide in the show, he has an issue where it's not showing up properly, which we'll have to figure that out because I'm not sure still what's causing that, Casey. But if you have a video, you can right click on any of your videos, for example, and you can do an edit. And in here, you have options to flip them. Okay. You can flip your video. You can make it fit a certain way, right? To where it's a certain size, right? Just like you would if it was an image. And you also can change the speed of the playback, which I don't recommend or expect that you all would change the speed of your playback very often. But you can do that, and you can adjust the start and end time. This is not crucial. It's an advanced level tip, so I'm not saying it's crucial, but it is a really cool tip. Okay, so this video right here, I don't know how long it is, but I'm going to say it's going to start. Oh, it shows here it's 230 seconds. So I'm gonna make it start though at 60. And so now, if I go to that video, oh dang, which one was it? Was it this one? Was it Holy Spirit? Let me check. Let me make sure. Edit. Yeah, so Holy Spirit. Okay. If I go to Holy Spirit video,
word used in the Bible to
and
describe
we go down
God's
here to look and
personal
see when it
presence.
started,
Just like
check it
wind
out.
and
It
breath
started
are
at a minute,
invisible,
and then it's
God's
already at a
spirit
minute and
is
5.
invisible.
Okay, so you literally
Wind
can
is
adjust the
powerful,
start
and so
and end
God's
time
spirit
of
is
any of your videos
powerful.
that you
And
want
just as
to
breath keeps
by
us
simply
alive,
right
so
clicking. Let me
God's
stop that
spirit
video.
sustains all of life.
Let's do here,
Now, as we
and we'll just end that. All right, but that's something that is really cool to me that you can do. Simply right click, edit. I'm gonna make it go back to 0 because then I'll be confused as to what's going on with that video. But you can do that. All right. Random thought: do you have ability to telestrate like the NFL to point out something on your screen during kind of and kind of not? Nah, this feature here does that in FreeShow, but it doesn't work over here, so that's not gonna do it. But no, I don't. I'm trying to think about telestrating. No, I don't have anything that would do that right out the gate because I don't use any special recording software, which is kind of funny. I started out using that stuff, and it just was not that it was frustrating, but what I did is I just made my my mouse really big. So hopefully you can always see my mouse the way I've got it set up because I just made it a lot bigger is the goal. So it's easier for you all to see actually. That was the main reason. But yeah, no, I don't have anything that makes it show a trail or point out anything special. Let me see if I should do this. Will it get bigger? Now, sometimes you might have it set to where if you move your mouse a lot, it'll kind of expand and it'll get bigger so you can see it a little bit easier where you are on the screen, but I don't have that set up. All right. Let's see here. Let me move my, let me move this up and out the way. In shows, another advanced feature. You got to know what you're doing with it. This has to do with actions. All right. I talk about it all the time. I'm curious, does anybody use it? Does anybody use, he said parking lot. Let me make a note. Let me see. Let's see here. Tell us straight. I'll make a note. But if you right click on any of your categories, you can right click and set a category action so they'll always do the same thing. As you as your ministry may grow or whatnot, you could do quite a bit with that. And I say as it grows in terms of the needs of the ministry, right? So you might need all of your songs to always make sure to clear out the overlays. That's where that would be very helpful. Okay. You might need all of your pastor's notes to always go to a new stage display. That would be a really cool way to do it to me, is that your categories would dictate the way your stage looks, right? And you just make an action that says go to stage display, or make an action that says start a certain timer or something like that. But the timer thing is a little bit different because you're going to have multiple songs in there or whatever it is. So I wouldn't necessarily put the timer actions in the category action, but anything that's going to be consistent and steady, I would do that, like a stage display. That's something that's pretty consistent. I'm trying to think about if you need to clear out some like overlays, I would put that in a section if you wanted to, because you don't expect to have any overlays during songs, for example, then you can do that. It's iffy. Every church is going to be a little bit different with that one, but that's definitely an option as well. So keep that in mind. That's a big deal to me when it comes to those options. And then for scriptures, let's talk about scriptures real quick. We've looked at scriptures quite a bit in the past, but with the new interface, sometimes it's easy to overlook, I should say. But with the scriptures, it's broken out really cool now in the latest version. So you can see the collections at the top, and all you do is hit new collection. That used to be an advanced level feature for me because you would have to select different scriptures, make sure they were API Bibles only, or make sure they were local Bibles only. Now, when you hit new collection, it only shows you API Bibles to check off the list or local Bibles to check off your list. Very simple, really cool design and user interface for that they've improved. So I'm excited about that. But on the right side, this is where things can get a little sticky if you're not careful. All right. Now, by default, I wouldn't mess with this, but as you get more advanced, something to consider. For example, split long verses. This one is a game changer, especially early on, like in February and January. When I first started my channel, I was getting a lot of questions, a lot of feedback about how to make the text stay big, even when you had a long verse. All right. in your songs, you can make it to where it limits it to where it's 2 lines. Okay. In the settings, we saw that earlier. If I were to, it's going to be in the styles. So let me go to a style setting real quick. In the styles, max lines per text box, you can see that here. And that affects your general song lyrics and things like that. It doesn't affect the scriptures. Okay. So this max lines per text box affects the slide. All right. But for scriptures, the best way to do it is to go down to your scripture settings in the scripture tab and select this option that says split long verses. And you'll see it show up here to where it shows you A and B and C, and it split up that whole verse to where it is a lot shorter. And then you can set the size, okay, for how big you want it to be. If I hit this reset button, it'll make it go back to the default of 100. All right. And I can hit play. And now this is what part 1 looks like, or part A. You see the A there. And then if I hold down command and arrow to the right, you'll see part B show up here. All right. And so that's something to keep in mind. Let me move my head down. Oh, wrong thing. I was trying to do something in OBS. I'm looking at my OBS screen, trying to pull my head down out the way. All right. And so split long verses, game changer across the board. Let me pull this back out. So if I do that and I go to the next slide, you'll see it there to where it's showing up and it's going A, B, and then if there's a more length to it to C, it'll be there. But it allows you to keep your size of your text pretty consistent, like you would with that max lines per text box. In your settings, this is how you would do it in your scriptures. It's my preferred method. All right. And then the last thought, I'll tell you this and I'll let you guys go. Show reference. You can dictate the layout of your reference and your version of the Bible. And all you do is use these brackets and put that stuff in there. You can also, I guess you could probably put some other stuff. I've never done that. You might be able to put some other stuff in there. If you put some more brackets and you know how to, you're comfortable doing that, you can add that. But you can make these be stacked on top of each other to where it's like that, reference and version. And so now when I go to the next verse, you'll notice that they're now stacked up with the NLT right below instead of it being right next to it like it was just a second ago. All right. Any other tips or things like that that you all have thought of or used? And so maybe you could add Tiny and Gary to companion on your tablet. Yeah, that might be what I have to do because because it's a source. All right, here's what I'll say. Oh, Casey says, I like to use Control Show from my phone to change the pastor slide so I can sit in congregation if I want to. That's an unbelievable feature. Really cool stuff. I love that one, Casey. That's something that I think is important, especially as media volunteers, media leaders, even if you're on staff or not, to engage and be a part of the fellowship is something I always encourage my team to do. And we will rotate that out. So each week, somebody different was relieved and they would just sit down and just enjoy their family and enjoy the word, the worship and all that kind of stuff without having to worry about the live stream or the sound or cameras or the slides or whatever it was. All right. So keep that in mind. And Casey's got a really cool solution there that some of you all are probably using as well, where you control it from your phone, which I love. All right. If you want to stick around, feel free. I'm going to go ahead and try to update. Brian made a good point to add the Tiny Gary into my companion. If you want to see that, that's the advanced level of the advanced level. All right. And we'll wrap up. So if you are done and you've enjoyed what you're saying, please make sure to share this with somebody that you know, or share something else, a video that you like about Free Show with somebody else that you know that will benefit from it. All right. In the meantime, let's look at companion now. I'm about to shift gears. We're going to look at companion. I had it open. I just got to figure out where it is. I'm going to try to do that. And I don't know if it'll let me do it with a source, because that's what I need to do. I got it as a scene that's a scene inside of a source. Yeah, it's a scene inside of a source panel. All right. So if I go to my buttons, I actually started doing that. I put the circle here. I named it the button. So this is how I navigate my show for those who've not seen this before, or those that are still on. I've got my audio showing up here that just shows a reflection of, let me see what it looks like. This button, feedback. is set to audio meter. So it's just showing me that there's some audio coming through. That's all I really need. And it's coming out I can see it out the corner of my eye and know that everything is good. All right, now back to this circle share. And I'm just going to call this Circle Gary. That's all it is. The question is, it says OBS set a program scene. I don't necessarily want to set a scene. I want to set a source on a scene. So let's see if we can do that. So I'm gonna go into here. I'm gonna do a search for source. Set source text. Set source volume. Okay, set source visibility. Boom. All right, that's done. All right, now it says this scene. Current scene. Okay, that's fine. And I gotta clear this out. And let's see here, circle camera. That's what it's called. And I've got, this is interesting. All right, let's see if that does it. So they'll toggle it. All right, let's test it out. Boom, 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 boom. Circle Gary in full effect. It's a wrap. Brian, you made it happen. So now I could go to my primary screen. Circle Gary is there. Oh, snap. I like that. Look at that. Circle Gary. This is how I feel right now. It's time for the fireworks. It's game time. Now, the hard part is it just adds it to any, let me see something here. If I go to this scene and I add in, nope, it doesn't show up there. I hit Circle Gary, but it didn't show up. If I go to Talking Head, so I got to add it to that scene. I've got to add Circle Gary to every scene in order for it to work. But I like that. I like that. I've got it on this scene, so it's perfect, and I can take it out if I need to show something in that side, and I can add it back on. Either here Publishing says, laugh out loud. Yep. I love it. All right, y'all. I appreciate you all joining in. Those who came on, let's see if you can make that a toggle button between big and little. Oh, that's a whole different story. Now you're getting advanced. I don't have two sizes of that. Let me see. Because the way that works right now, between big and little. Yeah, I have to think about that one. Oh, you're talking about between split share. You're talking about between that. Yeah, so I would be able to do that pretty easily. So I can go here and go back and forth that way. So that's the big Gary, and then this is little Gary. That's funny because that's how we refer to my dad and me. He was Big Gary and I was little Gary. So this will be Big Gary, and I'll be there like that. And if I need to, I'll go to the full screen, and I can move this around wherever I need to. So I can move it to be like right there if I needed to, right? And I'm just in OBS moving it around wherever it fits best. So I can do that. I like that a lot. I like that. Very good suggestion, Brian. As usual. Yeah, I don't expect anything less. I appreciate the improvement. Let's see here. Idiot Publishing says Circle Gary is cute. Hey, there's no flirting in YouTube. For those who don't know, that's actually my wife. She's playing games with me, so she's online watching and teasing me. So she has a right to flirt. So I appreciate that, but nobody else has a right to do that. So thank you all for being considerate, knowing that you don't have a right to flirt with me. Unlike my wife, she does have that right. So I'll take that any day of the week. All right. For those who are still on, like I said, appreciate you all. Have a great rest of the day and a great weekend. Let me know how your services go this weekend if you have service. And Casey, let me know your question. We need to know the version you're using. If you put in a comment to this, I'll be able to get to it hopefully by the end of the week, or the end of the week, by Sunday. I don't usually do much on YouTube or anything, I should say, on Saturday. So by Sunday, I should be able to catch up to it and see what that is. And then also I'll try to follow up with you to figure out about the syncing first, like how to get that first sync set up. And I'll see if I find something like that. Casey, reach out to me on my website if you want me to send it to you directly. You can just reach out to me and just start a chat on my website. In the bottom corner, I believe it's like a messaging option. So shoot me a message on there, and that way I can send you something when I find it. I can send you that link. All right. All right, you all. Talk to you soon. Till next time. Let me find my outro. Hold on. Oh, you know what? It's on my other hard drive. I just got to dial out. All right. See you guys later.